In this video I'm going to tell you how I got from this to this. So basically I'm going to tell you how I got from a cute looking teenager to a not so cute looking musclehead. So when I was a young teenager, as you can see in the picture, I was always pretty skinny, pretty much always on the light side. And I remember that I was never really happy with it. I always wanted to get bigger, I always wanted to get stronger somehow, but I had no idea how to do that. Like, I didn't know what a gym was, I didn't know how to work out or anything, but I was a huge wrestling fan, a huge boxing fan, and I always saw these big, massive physiques, big frames, and I always wanted to look like that, but it was so far away I had no idea how to do it. I guess I was telling my brother all the time that I wanted to get bigger and I wanted to build muscle, because in 2014, Christmas 2014, he bought me my first weightlifting set. And I remember it was like a multi-gym deal for like $50 on eBay. It had a lat pull-down machine, it had a chest press, a leg extension machine. And I remember I was so happy. So at this point I was 14 years old and I remember I was already training every day. But as much as I wanted to get results, it never really happened because, let's face it, I had no idea how to work out. I had no idea how to do the exercises correctly. No one really ever showed me how, but that's just how it was back then. And like every teenager should, I was also doing a lot of cardiovascular activities. So, for example, I was in the soccer club, I was playing a lot of basketball, and I also had no idea how to eat, I had no idea about nutrition, so it was super hard for me to put weight on. So instead of learning about nutrition and learning how to eat in a caloric surplus, of course, I was thinking, no, I gotta do less cardio, I gotta play less basketball, less soccer, and that's what I did. I left the soccer club and I just started to lift weights every day. And I was in my basement training with my multi-gym every single day, and I remember losing a lot of social contacts, losing my friends, They were feeling like I'm super awkward because I was 14 years old lifting weights every day. It was pretty uncommon back then, especially in Germany. I remember seeing some results from that, but I was never really happy because, let's face it, my social life was just trash for a teenager. When you are 14 years old, you need to have friends, you need to go out, you need to go chill in the park and do whatever. So that's when I decided I need to do something. That's when I joined a public gym. And that's where it all really kicked off for me, because that's where I met people who knew what they were doing, who were willing to show me how to bench press, how to deadlift. And when you're starting out with your fitness journey, it's super important that you really learn the basic exercises first, because that's the foundation for everything. So that's when I learned how to train, and I remember for the first 3 years until I was like 17 or 18, all I did was a full body split. And that's all they allowed me to do there. Whenever I was trying to do biceps workout or chest workout, they said, no, you're still a beginner, you gotta do full body. And to be honest, in retrospect, I think it was actually a good thing. And I still recommend to beginners out there to always start with full body. You want to learn the basic lifts, like I said, you want to learn how to bench press, you want to do deadlifts, you want to do pull-ups, you want to do bend over rows. And you can also start out with machines. Of course, it varies from person to person, but a full body workout, in my opinion, is still the way to go for a beginner. And I remember getting pretty good results from it for the first 2-3 years. So despite of me learning how to train right, I still had no idea at all about nutrition. I had no idea what a caloric surplus was, I had no idea what a deficit means, and I was probably still eating in a deficit all the time because I don't know. In retrospect, I was pretty stupid because I had the internet, the information was out there, so I don't know why it took me so long until I learned about nutrition. And that's why I encourage all you guys, even if you're still a beginner, you don't have to be super strict about counting calories, but at least educate yourself a little bit so you know how much protein you need to eat, how many calories roughly you need to eat in order to gain weight or to burn body fat, or to do both at the same time. Whatever your specific goal is, you gotta learn about nutrition, because I didn't really want to hear it back in the day, and the other bodybuilders there told me all the time, you need to get your calories on, you need to track your calories, you know. But I don't know, I was a teenager, I wasn't really worried about that. I was thinking, I don't really gotta put so much attention to food. I just eat whatever and I'm gonna build muscle. And I remember after doing the full body workout for like 3 years, I was getting to a point where progress was getting slower and slower and slower. And I was thinking to myself, I've probably reached my max, you know, which is ridiculous, because at this point, like I said, I made some gains, but it was so far from my natural max potential that it was really, really stupid to think that way. And, you know, after thinking that I'm plateauing for a few weeks, I realized that, man, they're probably right and that I should probably start paying attention to my diet. And that's when I finally learned how many calories I need to eat. It only took me like 6 years, but that's okay. But that's really when it all kicked off for me. That's when I made the majority of my gains. And think about that. I was already lifting weights for 6 or 7 years, and suddenly I started to pay attention to my diet, and all of a sudden I'm making gains that I didn't make in 6 years in 1 year. So I'm going to show you a picture right here. That was me 3 years ago, and that's really for the first time when I realized, man, I'm getting somewhere. I'm starting to look like I always imagined how I can look when I was a young teenager. But again, I was getting a little cocky, and after like maybe 1 year max, probably only 8 months or so, of training the right way, being in a caloric surplus, I was thinking to myself that, man, I want to get shredded right now. Like, I'm ready, I got enough muscle mass. So that's when I went on my first cut. And of course, as you can imagine, I was making all the mistakes you can make on a cut. I was cutting way too fast, my caloric deficit was way too large. I was losing about 2 pounds a week at one point, and I wasn't realizing it because I was getting leaner. I thought to myself that, man, it's working, but in reality I was just losing a lot of muscle mass. And I realized that as the cut went on further and further, and I was just getting skinny and skinny, and I was looking on the scale and I was like 190 pounds or 192 pounds when I started the cut, and all of a sudden I'm only like 170. So I was getting leaner and leaner, but also smaller and smaller. And as the weeks went on, I finally reached my goal of reaching single-digit body fat for the first time in my life, but I wasn't really satisfied with the way I looked. Like, I looked okay when I had my clothes off, when I had my shirt off, but in a shirt I was just looking small and skinny, and it wasn't what I envisioned, because I still wanted to be big, and I thought to myself, when I'm ripped, I'm just going to look even bigger, but that wasn't the case. I also remember feeling really bad because, like I said, I was in such a large caloric deficit that I had zero energy. As I was getting leaner, the energy levels kept getting worse. I had no sex drive at all. It was looking really bad, and I wasn't satisfied with my looks, like I said. So what did I do? Of course, what would you do? Come on. You go on a dirty bulk. My hunger feelings were so big after that long cut that it was easy to eat 3 cheeseburgers. It was easy to eat 2 pizzas. It was easy to eat a lot of cookies, you know. I was eating all the crap that you shouldn't eat in large portion sizes, and it was getting bad. And my strength levels were great. My strength was going up like never before. So I was thinking that I'm doing the right thing. And in retrospect, I definitely gained a lot of muscle mass in that time. But it isn't necessary, guys. It isn't necessary to bulk that hard, because look at the picture. I was also getting really fat. I was like 220 at this point, and that's just too big for my size, you know, too big for a natural guy who's only 5'10". So as I was getting stronger, as I was making a lot of gains, I was also realizing that I'm gaining so much body fat that I'm gonna end up not looking good again. And that's what happened. So I realized that I need to go on a cut again, but this time I didn't want to make the same mistakes that I made in the first cut. That's when I really raised the bar as far as the intensity of my training is concerned, and that's where I made the best progress. I was going to a really small deficit, so I was losing weight really slowly, but I was also gaining muscle because I had enough body fat on me to do that. Around this time I was also visiting a lot of training courses. I was working hard for my personal trainer certification, and that's where I finally learned how to train the right way. I realized how to use principles like volume, intensity, frequency, and how to structure those into a well thought out program. I learned how to use intensity techniques so I can train more effectively in less time. So I was cutting the right way, I was finally training the right way, I was spending less time in the gym than before because my training was just more effective and I was getting more stuff done in less time with the right techniques and the right training principles. And this is how I finally got the results that I always wanted to have. I always wanted to be shredded and lean, but I also wanted to be big. I wanted to be 200 pounds, and of course I wanted to do it without drugs, and that's why of course it took some time. But if you want to do the same and you want to reach your dream physique, I'm there for you guys. And it's absolutely possible. It's not a riddle, it's not a game. You just need to learn about certain things and how to apply them, and you will get results. And I'm here to help you every step of the way, guys. And that's why I created the $20 transformation. Yes, you heard that right. You get 20 weeks of training for $20. It also contains personal email support, meaning I will make sure that you stay accountable, you can always reach me, you can ask any questions. It contains 4 scientific training phases, the exact phases that I used to get the results I got, and it contains meal plan examples and the exact calorie formula that I used for my results. Now, what's also great is the program adjusts to your goal. So you can also say that you just want to gain weight, you are maybe in a beginner phase right now, then of course you can also use the formula to gain weight, you can adjust the meal plans, you can adjust the training and so forth. So make sure to take advantage of this offer, guys. Again, I'm here for you every step of the way. It's personal email support. You can always reach out to me and I will ensure that you reach your goals as well. Yeah, so this has been my journey, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you could take away some useful information from this, and hopefully in 5 years' time I will do another video and I will be able to show you even better results since then. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Natural Max Fitness,